idea to do a movie set in Vietnam, because the word was coming back. Vietnam was like a war unlike any war that had come before. And the stories from the soldiers who came back was extraordinary. And so George got a friend, John Milius, who had a lot of buddies who were in the war, and together they cooked up the project. And it was one of the projects that our new independent company, Zoetrope, was going to do, and George was going to direct it. 16 millimeter he was going to do, and he was going to make it sort of like a combat film. And a few years went by, and we had some bad luck, and a lot of our projects, we couldn't get the money, and so people were going off to do their own thing. And of the scripts we had, Apocalypse Now was like the best script. So I asked George if he wanted to do it, and he was already committed to Star Wars. I asked John Milius if he wanted to do it. He, for some reason, I don't know why, he didn't want to do it. And then I got this idea, look, we have a script ready, Apocalypse Now. Maybe if our company makes it, we'll have a movie out, and then with the money we get, we'll continue doing more personal independent films. So I said, I'll just do it myself.
Apocalypse Now was pretty much, we had a lot of interviews, went on for weeks and weeks, seeing a lot of people, some people that we already knew. And then after some weeks and weeks of interviewing guys, then we went to screen test. And we rented a soundstage, small soundstage here in Hollywood, where a lot of commercials had been made. And it was a typical Francis Coppola style of testing, where it was kind of free-flowing. It was not a formal thing where somebody waits in the waiting room and then brought in. Everybody was standing around, kind of trading parts. And
you guys are fresh. You want to get your boat from here to there. These guys are beginning to get weird.
Francis and I like the interview process. We like talking to actors. We spend a lot of time with them, and then usually end up testing the ones that we feel are the most right.
How fat can they get? Let me ask you a question. How much water you got on those tracks?
Well, during the testing period, we tested all kinds of actors, even Nick Nolte, who was a kind of a rising star. He hadn't become a big star.
We saw one of them goddamn tracks coming right out across the fucking road, slopping water all over the place.
The four guys, Frederick Forrest, of course, was kind of obvious because he had been in the conversation for us, and he was kind of family with us. There wasn't even testing for that. We just gave the part to Freddie. Sam Bottoms was one of the ones we interviewed. He was a kind of rising young actor. He was still a teenager then.
Oh, I didn't know what I was doing, man. She was, man, she was my dream.
We had tracked him and his brothers. They've been an acting family from Santa Barbara.
She wanted to see me sometime. So, she worked over at IBM, and we'd get together in a lunch hour. And my car, and
Yeah?
she had this leather skirt. No.
Leather.
Short leather skirt. And I'd put my hand in her legs.
Come on, man.
Oh,
God, what are you doing, man? Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I gotta say it. And she'd get really turned on. And in my van, we'd just go crazy. We'd do everything.
Everything. Come on, Lance, what'd you do?
She had the most fantastic body. The most incredible leg. Had great tan. Come on, you guys. Stick with me.
Larry Fishburne, I had seen in a TV movie, If You Give a Dance, You Gotta Pay the Band, which a friend of mine had written. And he says, there's this kid in this movie I wrote, you better check out. So I always kept Larry Fishburne's name in mind, and we brought him in and he tested.
Where are you from?
New York.
New York. What part of New York?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn? Where's your zip code?
Oh, what?
Your zip gun. Don't tell me you don't know what a zip gun is.
Right here.
That? Shit, I thought you all carried zip guns. What are you doing with that?
Well, I don't know. Depends.
From Brooklyn, huh?
Yeah.
I heard the guys from Brooklyn are really bad.
Yeah, they bad enough.
How bad are you?
I don't expect you want to know.
You drafted or you volunteered for this?
Drafted.
Drafted, huh?
Yeah.
Am I boring you?
I'll let you know.
He told us he was 17 or 18. He was really 14, but we didn't find that out until we got to the Philippines. Albert Hall, I had seen in a play. Francis might have been with me. I can't remember what the play was, but we remembered this actor. And he was not a guy that had done many film roles, if any.
And I said I wanted to know what this special massage was, and then she got embarrassed. Special massage is with the hand. I said, you just been giving me a hand massage. Now what is this very special massage? She didn't want to answer that. Just said I was a very number 10 GI. Said it over and over again, and I kept asking her. Finally I said, I'll pay you $4 if you tell me. That seemed to get her even more. She said she'd show me. I said, no. I want you to just show me. I just want to hear about it first. We sat there looking at each other. She turned red and looked down, giggling. Very special massage is the mouth. What now?
What'd you do?
What happened? That's when the rockets hit the place. They hit it 3 times. I think she got zapped.
He had the perfect quality of a captain, and he was easily the one we wanted for it. Well, there were these 4 characters who were the regular guys on this boat. And then there's Willard, the character Willard. We thought we had Steve McQueen for a while, but then he decided he couldn't deal with going to the jungle for, he thought it might be 2 or 3 months. It turned out to be 1.25 years. So he was right, if he couldn't take it for 3 months. So he passed. We might have even considered Jack Nicholson or something. All that before we got to Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel was who we chose for Willard. And somehow to go over to Harvey's hotel and give him the news. It's not that Harvey wasn't a great actor. He is a terrific actor, a great actor. So we had to shut down the movie and recast. And so Francis and I flew back to LA, cast Marty Sheen, who we had tested for Michael, the Godfather, so we knew him and we liked him. Went back to the Philippines and threw Marty into it. And only after the deed was done did the press even hear about it. To find the extras to fill out the Army characters, we tried to get military cooperation. I remember going back and forth with the Department of Defense and the bureau that they had to deal with movies. And of course, they did not like our script. And they were always nice and kind, but they wouldn't give us any help whatsoever. There was a lot of Americans who couldn't get into medical schools in the States. So they would go to the Philippines and study medicine, get their degree in the Philippines. We used some of those. There were very young kids that were going to American schools there because their parents were, in some business or something out there. So some of the GIs that you see in there are actually 14 years old, 15, but in a uniform they look fine.
Cheer up, son.
In one sequence where the Playboy Bunnies, we have a whole audience of GIs there. We had everybody in there. There was, I think, Francis' sons were in there. I think Marty Sheen's sons were in there, just to fill it out. It was always a big, big hustle to make sure we could fill out the army with what we had access to in the Philippines. It was never easy. The Hmong in Kurt's compound were people that lived way up in the mountains in the Philippines, who in some way were racially related to the real Hmong people in Vietnam and looked just like them. So we sent one of our production assistants, a girl named Eva Gardos, who went on to be a film editor.
We're the hollow men. We're the stuffed men. Leaning together, headpiece filled with straw, alas. Our dried voices when we whisper together are quiet and meaningless as wind in dry grass, or rat's feet under broken glass in our dry cellar. Shape without form, shade without color, paralyzed force, gesture without motion. Those who have crossed with direct eyes into death's other kingdom remember us, if at all, not as violent souls, lost, but only as the hollow men, the stuffed men. eyes I dare not meet in dreams, and death's other kingdom to these do not appear. There the eyes are sunlight on a broken column. There is a tree swinging, and voices are in the wind, singing, more distant and more solemn than a fading star. Let me not be nearer in death's hunted kingdom. Let me also wear such deliberate disguises as rat's coat, crow's skin, cross staves in the field, behaving as the wind behaves, no nearer. Not that final meeting in death's twilight kingdom. This is the dead land. This is the cactus land. Here the stone images are raised. Here they receive the supplication of the dead man's hand. Is it like this in death's other kingdom, walking alone, at the hour when we are trembling with tenderness, lips that would kiss form prayers to broken stones? The eyes are not here, there are no eyes here in this valley of dying stars, in this hollow valley, this broken jaw of our lost kingdoms. This last of meeting places, we grope together and avoid speech, gathered on the beach of Tumid River.
Well, I'll tell you, we need about 15 more minutes on the Infidel, and then we need about half an hour on the arm.
Here we go round the prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear. At 5 o'clock in the morning. Between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom. Conception and the creation, between the emotion and the response, falls the shadow. Life is very long. Desire and the spasm, between the potency and the existence, between the essence and the descent, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom. Life is, for thine is the
take one.
Passage this moment. Just better walk up to Kurtz.
We can't think of any more dialogue today.
To go with Ellie's.
It's grand. It's grand to have people in the city. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
This film is a $20 million disaster. Why would anyone believe me? I'm thinking of shooting myself.
You'll have to talk to Coppola about what happened during the apocalypse. But my feeling about it is that that whole episode was sort of a travesty, and that he was really trying to reach for something and had no idea what he was trying to reach for, nor did Francis.
The Marlon character didn't appear until at the end, and when he showed up, he was heavy, and it made it a little difficult because how are we going to dress him like a Green Beret Marine colonel? And when I suggested to depict him as a man who was indulging his senses and be there with his arm around two girls and eating, he didn't want to be. I mean, he's shy about his weight.
He weighed in at 360 pounds or something, Marlon, for Apocalypse, and he was on $1 million a week contract. Francis was very upset because he found out that he hadn't read the book Heart of Darkness, and Francis said, "We got to stop shooting," and basically went off for a week with I call it the $1 million riverboat scene, where they go off and pay Marlon $1 million, and 900 people sit and wait. Well, I think it's my own opinion that Francis read him the book, Heart of Darkness. So.
Well, it's a pretty short read, actually, isn't it? It doesn't take...
Well, I don't know how short a read it is if you're reading to Marlon. He may have questions.
There's no acting with Marlon. There's behavior and there's honesty and truth. As soon as you start acting, he will pull you out of that. He will say, without saying don't act, he'll say, be human, be open, be free, trust. Come, follow me. Be ruled by me. Be secure in this, And he doesn't look over his shoulder. He doesn't make any apologies. He doesn't edit. Whatever is. And the camera is dollying with me, and it gets up over my shoulder, and he's supposed to turn just as I bash him. And this particular take, I'm creeping up, and the camera's moving, and everything is timed perfectly. I raise the implement to hit him. He turns around, looks me right in the eye, and says, "Pray for your father." I drop the farm implement, I became tongue-tied. I couldn't believe what I'd heard.
My film is not a movie.
Mon film n'est pas un film. C'est pas du cinéma.
My film is not about Vietnam.
C'est pas au sujet du Vietnam.
It is Vietnam.
C'est le Vietnam.
It's what it was really